Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. We're your hosts, Bull and P, and we're getting this one out a little bit later on today to y'all because we just left from Cason's final baseball tournament of the season, and we played up against Dan Ugla's team on the final game. We had a chance to kind of talk to him because we're sitting on that first baseline. He was the first base coach, and he's a really cool guy. Played second base for the Braves years ago. He was one of those guys that could get you a hit whenever you needed it. So that was a whole lot of fun, and I think that Cason did a great job going out there, but pretty much, we're on to football mode now inside of this household, or, inside of all these households, outside of our volunteers that's still fighting in this World Series. I think we're in a really good spot. And we're going to be talking about the game from last night. We'll be talking about the matchup versus the North Carolina Tar Heels. It's coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN. And we're also going to be talking about official visits this weekend. We talked about it being potentially the biggest official visit weekend of Josh Heupel's coaching career. We'll tell you the players that we would like to land from this visit. And we'll also bring you a little bit of inside information because we talked to a player or two up there. But please, as always, before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Want to send a huge shout out to all the members of this channel, everyone that's been donating. You can become a member by clicking that join button below. And you can also donate to the channel by scanning the Cash App barcode up in the top right-hand corner. But let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, and first and foremost, we got to talk about the big-time win, the big come-behind victory, that walk-off victory versus Florida State last night, P. I think that was a monumental game, probably one of the best. I mean, I don't know, where would you rank that in all of Tennessee sports history?
Man, I know that's definitely the best baseball game I think I've watched live from start to finish. I mean, from the freaking opening inning, you got errors all over the place. You got a whole bunch of blown opportunities, guys getting tripped up at third base, trying around third base to go score runs. I mean, just everything you could want. Guys, letting balls, roll past them, go to the fence. I mean, just so many ups and downs, ebbs and flows. Yeah. Florida State has that huge, that third inning? They go out there and they hang six runs on us. I mean, and then we kind of have those two innings where we can't get anything going. I mean, it was just such a great game. I actually had to leave, run to the store, so I missed like the fifth, sixth, and seventh inning, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I came back and kind of just in time to see us start to rally and get that thing going. So man, it was such an exciting game. I mean, that's what college baseball is all about. And I mean, it shows, it just shows, man, just the passion in college in general. I think it just supersedes the professional level in so many ways. But yeah, it's definitely got to be a top 5 game across all sports for sure.
Yeah. So, it's funny, P, that you're bringing up just kind of like comparing the college game to the major leagues. And one of the things that I noticed, man, is it's like, okay, this field at Omaha is a lot bigger than the regular college stadium. And, these players are having a whole lot of trouble fielding, hitting the ball out. I don't think that we had too much trouble hitting it out. But, there were several home runs there were several hits that probably would have been home runs at Lindsey Nelson that was just fly outs inside of that stadium. But to think about the players in the majors that's able to go out there versus the top pitchers on the face of the planet with the best stuff that you're ever going to see and be able to hit it out, on a not, necessarily consistent basis, but some of them doing it on a consistent basis with a wooden bat is insane. I think
heck. I mean, we saw Dan Ugly today. I think he said he's been retired for 8-9 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, heck, I think he's a pretty kind of average baseball player, just kind of overall. And we saw he was freaking built. I mean, he's freaking yoked up, you know what I mean? So that's how those guys are eating out there. So it's no surprise.
Yeah. Well, shoot, you know what? I wouldn't have said that I'm surprised. That's probably not the right word if I did use that. But I'm just like, man, I guess I have a newfound, maybe like respect, because I've always looked at Major League Baseball and baseball in general. You know that it's a very difficult game. But, man, it's like looking at that, I think watching us play last night, seeing whether we came back and all that type of stuff, especially a guy like Simo, the way that he performed, I mean, that was an incredible performance. But I'm saying all that just to say, man, baseball is not an easy game, the higher up that you go. But I do think, P, that Simo's a guy that could probably work himself into being a star on the next level too. And I'm saying that just because whenever you're listening to him talk pregame, talking about he wants to be a legend, right? Like, and he goes out and plays like it. That's some Jordan-esque type of stuff. But he's one that, man, I'm just so proud of him, hitting for the cycle. And he didn't even know it. It was crazy just seeing him react to that. And he's just like, really? Like, what? I had no idea. But, P, I think that it was a phenomenal game. So many times, especially kind of early on, after that first inning where you just kind of pointed out with Blake Burke, the errors that he had. And I hate to kind of single him out because he wasn't the only one. I think Simo might have had one maybe in the first inning. But anyway, seeing all that happening and then us kind of rallying, like you said, the players rounding third, and we're kind of fumbling with the baseball out in the outfield, but he doesn't touch third, so he's got to go back. His coach is going off on him. And then I think that once I knew that we would win this game was when I saw Cal Stark, okay, coming off a third, going home, and he was out by a freaking mile, and the ball bounces out of the catcher's hand, like just hits right off of his knee. And at that point, I said, man, look, everything's kind of going our way. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. To win championships, you got to have some luck involved. It's not always the best team that wins. We all know that there has not been a number one seeded team to win the College World Series since 1999. So that just kind of goes to show you that. But I think that everything is trending for us, for our volunteers. And, you know, we've had these stats up for y'all so that y'all can just kind of take a look at it. But, I mean, you know, again, Simo was an absolute and total dog. You know, Burke, you know, again, just kind of talking about the way that he played early on. Might have been one of his worst games that I've seen this entire season. But he makes up for it with the game-winning run, right? So, I mean, it's just so many things. Simo ties it up. Blake Burke finishes it off. Dreiling hits that hit. So, you know, it's just so many different stories. One of the best games that I've seen. I would put it for sure top maybe 4 or 5 in all of Tennessee history throughout all the sports. But you're just kind of seeing, man, that our guys are hitting on a consistent basis, right? I mean, even going up against this guy, Jamie Arnold, who's the best pitcher, you know, left in the World Series. And, I mean, shoot, we got 6 runs off of him. And actually, I'm going to come on down to the pitching so that y'all can see that. We get 6 runs off of Jamie Arnold. And we talked about North Carolina, or no, it was UConn that got 6 runs versus Jamie Arnold, too. And I think that our pitching was good. Obviously, Stamos gets the pull very early on. You know, Causey, he was pretty good. He wasn't horrible just looking at his numbers. And then, you know, I think that Kirby came out. He looked good. I loved his shoes, P. Looked like he had on some orange and white Jordan 1s. I've never seen those before, but I need to get me a pair of those, man. We're going to probably be wearing those up in Knoxville. You already know. But, you know, just kind of going through all these stats, you know, we're not going to go through every little detail, but P, like, what are you kind of noticing just in looking at the stats, or, you know, like, what are some things that you feel like we did well, and what do you feel like we're going to need to work on if we want to get better moving forward in this College World Series?
Well, you know, I was definitely concerned. You know, I think it was, I guess, the second inning, kind of just what I think it might have been just the second, and maybe the second and third inning. I think Causey was in, and you know, just we kind of like, I think he gave up however many runs in a row with no outs. I don't know if he gave up all 6 runs or 5 runs, whatever it was. Bases were loaded, was about to give up more before they brought in Kirby. And it almost felt like, man, like we're not going to be able to ever get out this inning. You know what I mean? Like it was, you know, there was definitely concern, you know. So I think the pitching is going to have to, you know, be a little more consistent, I think, especially early in the game. I don't think we're going to see bats as good as we saw against Florida State. I mean, maybe we will. But I think that's definitely one of the best offensive teams that, you know, we'll face for sure. But I think it's got to be more consistent pitching the ball. But, I mean, you know, as far as things to do well, man, I love the resiliency of this team. You know, you see Simo, you know, 2 strikes, bottom of the ninth. Okay, was it 1-2 and count, 1-2 count or 2-2 count? Looks at the sideline, says, "Let's fight. Let's fight." You know what I mean? And that's what as a freaking competitor. Okay, 2-2, bottom of the ninth, last out, win or go home. Okay, that's when the players freaking show up. And for him to have that juice and have that confidence, have that swagger, I had no doubt in my mind he was going to get a base hit. I mean, no doubt he was going to get a base hit, going to get walked. And he sure enough, he pulls it off. I think he knocked in a run. So I mean, he's just, you know, he's phenomenal, man. And everybody, man. Like once we had 2 outs, I think, in that 9th inning, 2 outs when Simo came up to the plate. Yep. Okay, so we're at the top of the lineup, and then top of the lineup they showed up. Okay, we went and scored 4 unanswered runs, I think, with 2 outs for all 4 of those runs. And it just says a lot about this team, man. You know, Blake Burke having that check swing, people are going to say, you know, was it a swing, was it not? At the end of the day, in my opinion, for one thing, I don't think you can end a game like that on that type of call, for one thing. But 2, I mean, heck, he checked his swing. Well, you know, whether he swung or not, he said, "Oh, I don't want to swing." So, you know, if you penalize a guy for that, you know, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, man. Like you don't call that strike. So, you know, for him to bounce back, flush that, rip one up the middle to tie the game up, knock in 2 runs, man, just love this team, man. And of course, Dreiling coming up there, you know, getting the big shot. Yeah. You know, hit that thing about 375 feet, you know, to win it for us, man. I just love this team, man. Love the way Tony V's built them. Love the swagger they play with, the confidence. And, you know, this is a team you feel good. Like he said, you feel good going to do battle with a team like that each and every day. So couldn't be happier for what this team's able to get done.
Yeah, so I think that a couple of my takeaways, P, like you said, this team just knows how to win and they do fight. Like they're not going to stop fighting. And I think that that just embodies Tennessee in general. So super proud of them for that. And obviously it's a huge, huge victory. Cannot emphasize that enough. A lot of players stepping up in some big time moments. People's coming in, I believe, as a pinch hitter, right? Like him just being patient at the plate and getting on base was critical for us to go on and win this game. Just to be able to come off the bench cold like that. I mean, that just, it almost, every time that I've watched any highlights, P, kind of like after the fact, I'm getting chills every single time. And, last night, I was almost tearing up. Just, listen to these guys talk and all of that. I mean, it really does strike something deep inside of your heart to see one of our teams win like this, because again, it just embodies the University of Tennessee and our fan base so much. But I will say this, right? Like we'll kind of get away from all the positives because there's always going to be some negatives. The negatives, obviously, for us is going to be taking care of the errors out in the field. That's going to be my biggest thing. Now, I will say this, Pete. I feel like, right, this was game one of the World Series on a different field. Two teams that play on turf, playing on some different grass that they've never seen. It looks like some really thick grass, too. The ball's probably bouncing a little bit different than what it would inside of their, normal venues. Everything is just different. You have to take different angles. The ball might look a little bit different. And again, it's all about those nerves. So I think that winning the first game in the College World Series might be the biggest one, just because I think that the nerves might be at the highest in that first game. So what I am anticipating is that most of what we saw, I'll say, right, as far as the fielding errors and stuff like that, was just off of nerves. And as we play more and more on this field inside of this venue, that's going to start to diminish. And it's just going to be about who's the best team. I think that we are the best team that's left. Now, we might have to see Florida State again. I love our chances seeing them again. We saw their aces. I mean, and we did a great job, I feel like, versus Jamie Arnold. Of course, he had some success, but all in all, I think that we did a really good job versus him. So I'm just not too concerned about, us seeing them again. But I do just feel like we've got to do a much better job with the fielding, with the pitching. That's another part of the nerves. And with being more patient at the plate, figuring out what's what's Blue's strike zone, figuring that out, being able to, operate off of whatever it is as a pitcher, and then being able to kind of work the pitchers as a batter. And we saw that in that final inning, we started to do that a lot more, and we were just instantly successful. So whenever we're patient at the plate, we find our pitch, and then we just take advantage of it. I don't think that there's a team on the face of this planet in college baseball that can mess with us. So I feel good about that moving forward, but that's my take.
I agree. I agree. And I want to just pose a little question for the chat. Maybe we'll find comment below, unless you know. But I'm just looking at the stats here. I see Causey was the winning pitcher for us, and I'm not sure how that works. The way I thought it worked, like in order for you to be the winning pitcher, you had to be in the game. Like when you were taken out of the game, we were winning. Wait, were we winning when he was taken out?
Maybe.
Maybe. No,
I don't know. I don't remember because
I don't think we were.
Yeah, it's because he was
score.
I don't even know what inning he was even taken out.
It was I know they scored 6 runs.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we were winning. We were winning.
No, because he was in the third inning whenever they scored those 6 runs. And I don't think that, so we were up 4-1. I don't remember us ever regaining the lead again until the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how they choose who the winning pitcher is by any means.
Yeah. So somebody knows. Maybe you can explain that to us. I'm just curious.
Yeah. Because he didn't know. Well, he didn't even pitch the most innings Combs did. So, who knows? But anyway, I do want to kind of shift gears. With us just kind of talking about what this team needs to do. Moving forward to have a lot of success in the College World Series. And let's go on ahead and move forward to the matchup versus the Tar Heels. And y'all can see right here, again, this is a team that we're better than. I think that they might match up a little bit better than Florida State did, versus us. And a lot of that just has to do with the fact that this is a much bigger field. Seems like they play a little bit more small ball. I think that they're really good at hitting those gaps. But just kind of going through the stats, what we see right here is the batting average. We're number 20. They're number 31. On-base percentage, we're number 22. They're number 39. Slugging percentage, we're number 2. They're number 20. Home runs per game, we're number 2. They're number 21. So, they can hit the homers, right? Like, they've got one guy, I think, that's hit 26 home runs. We'll look at the individual stats here in just a second. But it's not a whole lot of guys that, it's going to just strike fear inside of your heart whenever you're up there pitching and playing on defense, especially, I feel like, inside of this stadium. And then on to stolen bases per game. This is where I think we need to be a little bit careful with them, is that we're number 250 as far as bases stolen, and they are number 89. So they steal about a base, 1.3 bases per game. So, I mean, they'll probably get a steal, or at least they're going to try to steal. How much is that going to affect our pitching tomorrow is going to be big for me. Now, ERA, this is always so critical. We're number 3 in the country with a 3.83, and they are number 15 in the country with a 4.22. So, I think that they've got very consistent pitching. This is where they're going to be better than Florida State at. They might not have that ace like a Jamie Arnold necessarily. I think that they do have some really good guys up at the top, but they're a lot more consistent with their bullpen, just like Tennessee is. So that's going to be very interesting, man. I think it's all going to be about discipline at the end of the day. Then fielding percentage, we're number 33, and they are number 89. So their fielding is even worse than ours. And this is all from June the 10th. So it's not a 100% up to date, but it is more up to date than the previous stats that we've seen. So he just kind of in, looking at those stats, what do you think? Is there anything that kind of stands out to you? If not, it's cool. But what do you think about looking at these stats?
I mean, we're the better team in every statistical category, like you said, besides stolen bases. I don't see their bats going to keep up with us. I'm not super familiar with their pitching, but I mean, based on what we're looking at here with the ERA, ours is better than theirs. I know that's not completely all on pitching. That's also with the fielding, which we see, we're a little bit better than them, statistically speaking. I think also in a tougher conference, being in the SEC. So, I mean, I think it's a game on paper we should win, right? I think we should win it pretty handily. Like I said, I think the game we just got done with last night, I mean, probably maybe the toughest game that we'll have. And I think we won't have another game that tough unless we see those guys again. But we'll see. I mean, baseball is one of those weird games. You can't really take anything for granted. But, I think we can come out here, like I said, like you just said in the last segment, we can cut down on the errors, make the routine plays that we need to make, and just kind of let our bats do what they do. We got guys from top to bottom of that lineup. So I think it'll take care of itself. I think ultimately it's going to come down to our fielding and, our ability to, pitch better than we did to start the game last night.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up the stats. So this is from D1 Baseball, and this is North Carolina stats. So right here, this is the pitching. All right, this is all of their guys. You're looking at the ERAs, right? A 3.89 up at the top from Jason DiCaro, and I think that he might end up getting the start, maybe game 1. I don't know if they've even announced the starter yet, but he's pitched the most innings for them. You can tell that he's pretty good. And then, as you're just kind of looking through it, right? We don't have to spend too much time on this, but we can see all of the numbers, right? And they're pitching, man. They've got some guys that are very consistent. So, it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out there. Now, taking a look at their bats, it's pretty much what their lineup is going to look like from top to bottom. And you can see that, I mean, there is nobody that's, that's going to be in that starting lineup that's hitting up under a 280. So that's pretty impressive. And, looking at the home runs, they've got Vance Honeycutt, who's their guy, 26 homers on the season. But then they've also got Parks Harbor with 20 homers, and then Casey Cook with 18. So they've got some guys that can knock it out of the park. But really, whenever you look at this statistic right here with the doubles, there's a whole lot of doubles with this team. And we talked about it before. This is a bigger field. If we don't keep the ball in front of us, those doubles can very easily turn into triples. And then, we've got guys in scoring positions. So defense is going to be critical for us. This is a team that is just consistent from top to bottom. Now, as you take a look at our players, let's go on down right here. Okay, so to the pitching, okay, we pretty much already know what we have. Okay, we've got some guys that can most definitely go. We're deep inside of that bullpen. No idea who the starter is going to be for us. A lot of folks are saying it's the man up at the top, Drew Beam. I like him a lot. I think that he's going to be able to come out there and get us a few outs. How many innings does he pitch for us? If he could give us 4 to 5, in a World Series type of a situation, that would be incredible. Maybe he only gives us 3, and then who comes in after that? I think that we're going to be fine, though, just as far as pitching goes. My biggest concern, P, is definitely with the fielding. Now on to our bats, and y'all already know this lineup is a big-time problem. We got a whole lot of folks that can hit for power. They can hit just to get on base, and that's one thing that I'm never going to be concerned about. But, P, is there anything that kind of jumps out to you there just looking at those stats? Anything else, right? Like anything kind of over the top with any of the individual players, like the pitchers that you're kind of taking a look at now?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really wows you. Like I said, I think they're pretty solid from top to bottom. Maybe not that ace like we saw last night, but definitely a solid group. and their bats don't really scare you. I think you see a lot of doubles. You factor that, consider that with the stolen bases. You say, well, this team must have pretty good speed. So that's always a problem, especially on a bigger field like this. They didn't score a lot of runs yesterday in a kind of a low-scoring game. So what's going on there? But I'm just not super worried. I think we come out here in field and do the basic fundamental baseball, we should be perfectly fine. But we can't have the errors like we did. And like you said, I think the nerves game one are a lot higher than they are, game two and beyond. So yeah. I think we'll be fine, man. Our bats are better than theirs. I think our pitching, I think is better than theirs too. So yeah, I just think we're the better team overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So that's going to be it for the baseball, man. Let us know y'all's thoughts down in the comment section because we love to hear what y'all have to say about it. But we are going to go on ahead and shift gears to the official visits this weekend. And this list right here, okay, for those of y'all that have not seen it before, we've got all of our official visitors pretty much slotted based off of the category of the position that they play. Everyone in green are the players that I feel like are going to be priorities for our staffs because we have so many players coming up. Everyone can't really be a priority. I don't think that you're going to be able to spend an equal amount of time with each player. So that's all that is. But looking at this list, we can maybe go back and forth, right, and just talk about what maybe up to 12 players, okay? Because I think that with Tennessee having 11 commitments, we might only be able to add 12 more, okay? I think we could only get a total of 23 commits in this class. So if we could pick 12 people, maybe in order, maybe not, who would we be picking from this list? I'm going to go ahead and let you go first.
Well, I mean, obviously, number one draft pick right here is David Sanders.
Yeah.
Sure. You need that bookend tackle, a guy to potentially plug inside. I think he's the priority recruit of this class, especially now that you have your quarterback. I think David Sanders, no-brainer, and I think he's one of those guys that will also be able to bring other guys with him. So I think he's a must-get for this staff, and I'd say probably priority number one off this whole list.
Yeah, for sure. He will be number one for me too. I mean, it's all about front seven play in football, period, but especially in the SEC. If you've got a good offensive line with all these star quarterbacks that we're getting in, then you already know they're going to have time to find their people, and we're going to get people open. We can scheme them open. That ain't going to be a problem. And then, the running backs will have some more lanes to kind of run through. So David Sanders, for sure, will be number one for me. But what about number two for you, P? Is anybody else that you're like, man, like he's way up on my list of players that I would love to get committed to our Vols?
Yeah. Well, heck, it's probably your guy, freaking JP, Jaden Pilati.
Jaden Pilati, oh, yeah.
We need a linebacker in this class. He's a guy, we know him personally. Mm-hmm. We know what he's made of. He has the right mindset, type of guy you want in your locker room, type of guy you want in your field, type of guy you want to go, to quote Coach V, you want to go do battle with. Okay, absolutely. He's the type of guy you want. So, yeah, I think JP would be my number two guy.
Yeah, and actually, so I got to talk to his father, and it's great news right now for Volunteer fans, right? So, he said that the visit has been going great, right? He said that Jaden loves Tennessee. So we're very, very high up. And I just asked him, what do you think about it personally? He said, man, look, I think that Coach Heupel and Coach Inge are building something special up there. We'll see what happens. I think that it might not take too long for us to figure something out here. But, that's just me kind of going off of how I feel, not so much of what I've heard. But we'll see. But for sure, P, I would say that Jaden is a guy that we absolutely need to get in this class. And like you said, it's because we don't have a linebacker committed. We need to get somebody else. He's a guy that if he's not playing linebacker for you, he can rush the passer. I mean, he can be a serious threat coming off of the edge. I mean, he just has all of that. He can also play in the secondary, whether it's at star. I think that he could even play safety. He's talked about playing corner some down there at Buford. He's just got a tremendous skill set for a player that's that tall, that long, all that. So that would be huge for us. We're getting a whole lot of players, right? We're getting a football player, period. In one guy that can do a whole lot of different things. So we'd love to have him. I'm going to let you take the number three player, Pete.
For number three for me, I mean, there's a handful of guys I can go with here. I'm going to go with Caleb Cunningham. Yeah. I know a lot of people are saying that they don't think we got a real shot with him, but he's a guy, I think we need to add a big-time receiver in this class. We have a couple receivers committed already, but I think we still need kind of that headline guy, especially with, what we could potentially lose after this season. So, yeah, man, I love his film. I think he's just the type of guy we need. He kind of fits that mold of, our history of having just straight-up dog receivers. I think he fits that. So he's my number three guy.
Okay, so my number three guy is going to be Isaiah Gibson. I would love to be able to add him. I think that we need somebody that can be a defensive tackle or a strong side DN body. He can do both, I feel like, at a very, very high level. He's, been listed at 263 pounds. It's going to be interesting to see what he actually weighed in at on this official visit, if he's, about 270-ish, he's probably going to be playing defensive tackle, and he's going to be a very, very good one. He's got first-round caliber written all over him. So that would be the guy that I would love to add to this squad. So at number 4, P, what you got?
And another place I go a lot of guys, but I'm gonna switch it up instead of staying with the skill guys. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Charles House. I think you're right. I think we do need to go with get some beef on the interior of that defensive line. We know we're very kind of old and veteran at that position this year. We don't know what's going to be there, after this year. So adding a guy like that can potentially either come in and contribute as a true freshman, or be a piece that develops and helps us down the road. I think you need that for sure on the interior. So Charles House at number 4.
Yeah, I think I'll put him at number 4 too, because keep in mind, y'all, that we need defensive tackle help. And of course, we could always go to the portal, but it's better to get the guys in early on and let Coach G just go to work on them and get them ready to play. But I think that either one of those guys, if they do commit, they're probably going to be getting thrown in there pretty early just because, again, we're losing several people. But at number 5, P, what you got?
Right here, I'll probably go with Nick Moore. I like him a lot. I know we got a lot of interior bodies, but I like him a lot. I just think he really fits this system, this scheme. I think this offense is a perfect fit for him. I think he's an athletic guy, very smart guy. Gives the kind of some Cooper Mays vibes there, maybe with a little more athleticism. And I just think he would be a perfect fit at center. And even though we do have, I can't think of the guy's name from last year. We got no, the guy we got
William
Satterwhite.
Yeah.
I like him a lot too, but maybe he bumps out the guard. Maybe Nick Moore bumps out the guard. Either way, I think we need to, get some more athleticism there in the interior. So I got Nick Moore at number 5.
All right, so for me, this is where I'm going to put Caleb Cunningham at. I would love to be able to add that. Length on the outside is very critical to this offense. We've seen all the quick screens and things like that. We need the wide receivers that can block, but can also be a pass threat. If you have a guy that's a really good blocker that can fake a block and then go off for a pass that can also run right by you, how do you defend it all of a sudden with all the speed and talent that we've already got on the outside? So that's who I would go with. So, P, who do you have at number 6?
I'm going to go with Isaiah Gibson. I think, he's a guy. The only reason he's not higher is just because, I don't know how realistic, our shot is, just because he's all over the place, what I mean? I definitely would love to add him. He's definitely the perfect body type you want. Strong side DN. Hey, gain 20, 30 pounds, let's bump you inside, keep your athleticism, go rush the daggone passer, to be a disruptive force on the interior. So he's definitely a guy we would love to add. So like him a lot.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to go ahead and go Abdul Sanders, the Alabama commit. And the reason I'm saying this is just because he's another one that I feel like, he could come in and play pretty early. Now, we did kind of talk about, he's already so polished. How much better can he get? He's going to get better just because he's going to get older. He's going to get bigger, faster, stronger, things like that. But he's probably won't have as high of a ceiling as some of these other players that are more of a project. But that's where I'm going to slide him at. So who you got for the next one right here, number 7?
For 7, I'm going with Chicago Mills Knight.
Yeah,
we need to add a running back in this class. Do we have? Yeah, I know we do have Justin Baker.
Right.
But I think we need another guy for sure. We're light at that position. I like Chicago Mills Knight's film. Got to have speed, home run ability, but also runs with power and balance. So can do it out of the backfield as well. So I think he's a guy who would be huge, perfect fit for this offense, I think.
All right, so I'm going to go with Juan Gaston at this spot, and I probably could put him a little bit higher, but the reason that he's not is because I think that we're actually pretty fine at offensive tackle. But we're talking about David Sanders probably coming in being that left tackle. Juan Gaston will come in and immediately be that right tackle for you because he's more of that run blocker guy. And then if we get him, we got a good shot to land someone that's coming up next weekend in Travis Smith because they're teammates in high school, but they have kind of talked about they don't really care about necessarily playing together. So, I think that if both of them really like Tennessee, then, obviously, I would not be surprised if they do both come. So landing him would be huge for us just because I think that it would help us out a little bit more with Travis Smith. But who do you have at number 8?
I like Zion Grady. I think he's a guy. They got him listed around 6'4", 6'5", 225, but I think it's a little bigger than that. I think he'll come on campus whenever, next season when he enrolls in school, I think he'll be pushing 250 or so. So, yeah. He's a guy, could be that strong side DN as well, which, that's a common theme you're hearing here. There's a lot of questions at that position. So the more strong side DN type of bodies you can get, the better. I think he would fit that very well for us.
So I'm going to go with Osman Chroma. I loved his film. He's coming from Lee County. Seen him play a lot in the Georgia State playoffs, playing in the state championships. There's just a whole bunch of dogs that come from there. I think that he just embodies that with the way that he runs. He just does not go down easy, fights for every little bit of extra yards that he can get. And that would be huge to throw him in there with a guy like Justin Baker, who's kind of like that same type of a back. I don't think that it can be understated how important the running back position is to this team. We really are a run first team. We're going to spread you out, and we're going to make you say, hey, do I want to dedicate more bodies to this box to stop these dogs that they're running with, and this big offensive line is opening up these gaping holes? Or am I, just going to try to dedicate a whole bunch of bodies to stop them from scoring on us quickly? I mean, it could be death by 1,000 cuts, or we could just cut your head off on the first one, right? So that's just how I look at it. But I think that Osman Chroma is he's one that I would love to add into this class. But who do you have at number 9?
Okay, yeah, I gotta go watch his film. I haven't seen his film yet, but
he's
number 9,
the real deal.
He's the real deal. What's his size? What is he about? Is he about 210, 215?
Yeah, he's about 6'1", 210, 215.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm talking about he's coming downhill. I was saying that he kind of puts me in mind of maybe like a Hardesty, maybe like a Quinton Junkins. But I mean, I could kind of say the same thing about maybe like Shakai Mills Knight. He could kind of be that too. And there's a lot higher ceiling for him because he's still very new to football. But man, Osman really caught my eye after I watched this film. But
I gotta check him out. Yeah. Number 9 for me, man, that's got to be Brame, the tight end.
Oh yeah,
he's man. I like his film a lot. I was watching for the first time. You told me about him the other day, and I checked his film out. I mean, to me, he looks like he's just as athletic as Ethan Davis was on film. But I think he's a little more college ready from a body perspective. I think he's a little more physically put together. Now he plays in Kansas, so how good's the ball there? I believe he's from Kansas. So how good's the ball there? But I love his film. You look at potentially, obviously losing the guy we got from Alabama, and then the guy we got from Notre Dame. I don't know. I can't think about his names right
Stays,
now.
But, So Holden Stays came from Notre Dame, and Miles Kitselman came from Alabama.
Yeah. So those two guys, I think could both potentially leave. I think Stays will be back, but they could both potentially leave. I know we got a couple guys coming in, but I think he's a guy that comes in. I think he could potentially be a day one guy if he needs to be.
Yeah, and then too, I mean, do not forget that we still got Jack Van Dorsalier in this same class. And he's a dog. Cole Harrison, he's going to be very special as well. I think that we're pretty good at tight end, but P, you're right. We love to use tight ends inside of this system up under Coach Heupel. So, I could definitely see that. I'm going to go with Jared Smith, though, just because he's another one that I feel like he could come off of the edge, maybe on either side. Sounds like maybe coming into this visit, it was kind of a long shot for us, but I still think that, I mean, you never know what's going to happen once it gets up on campus. So hopefully we could kind of land him. But who do you have at the next spot, P?
Number 10, I got Abdullah Sanders. Yeah. He's a guy. I think he comes in day one's ready to go. He's like you mentioned when you told me about him. Very well coached, very technically sound, good fundamentals, plays fast, knows what he's doing, has great instincts. I like him a lot. My only kind of holdback on him is he's almost so technically sound, so well coached. I wonder how much room he has to grow.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like him a lot, man. I think he's a guy come in and can definitely help you out early in his career.
Okay, so next I'm going to go. Actually, I probably should put him a little bit higher, but I'm going to go with Nick Moore for all the same reasons that you said, P. He can come in and he can play center. I think that he could do it at a high level. I love his film. He's a very good-looking athlete. I mean, he moves beautifully. You can tell that he's strong at the point of contact as well. So I think that he could be, one of the best centers in this entire league, after 2 to 3 seasons of just kind of working up against our guys. He would be one that for sure we could kind of plug in and play. But at the number 11 spot, who do you have here, Pete?
I'm going with Damian Shanklin. I think he's a long-range guy.
I like him.
I think another guy, depending on how he grows, could bump up, beef up, and potentially get up to that 240, 250 range. Maybe be a strong side guy. But I think that he kind of sets up to be more of that pure edge guy, come in and just keep the long run we got going of guys like James Pierce, Caleb Herring, Joshua Joseph, Jordan Ross coming in. He could maybe be the next guy to insert there in that lineup. So, he's a guy I like to add as well.
Okay, so I'm going to go with DeJarian Miller at this spot. Okay, so he's a 4-star wide receiver, I believe, with Rivals. I really like his game. I mean, he's a taller, longer, kind of a slimmer guy. He's a little bit more, he's slimmer, right? But I would just say this. I think that he can most definitely add the weight. He high points football as well. He looks really good out in the open field, making people miss. Something that we haven't seen a lot from our wide receivers since Heupel has pretty much been up on campus. So I think he could add that element to the game. But at the same time, P, I just want to put this caveat out there that I think that we're going to end up landing Travis Smith, who's coming up next weekend. So do you want to take both of these guys, or do you take one or the other? I think that if you could get Travis Smith, and all of a sudden, once you add Miller, this looks a lot better, because I feel like Travis Smith is more the guy that could be more of the, like that brutal type of a body. You could tell he's really, really strong. Whereas Miller, I think, is more of, like we need to get like a first down. We need somebody to get open right here and to make this catch. I think he's more of that guy and not as much of the physical type of a player. But who do you have at number 12 for the last spot?
I like that, man. Number 12, I'm going with Jamie French here.
Yep.
He's not high because I don't think it's very realistic. Just from listening to him talk, don't really buy anything he's saying. It seems like he loves everybody.
Yeah.
Wants to do his visits. I just don't think we have a real shot with him. And, I almost kind of think he's wasting our time by coming up here. But, if we could land him, I think his talent level is off the charts. I think he's a guy kind of puts you in the mind of a Calvin Ridley type guy.
Yeah.
So, he's a guy, he comes in here. I mean, I think he could be a day one guy, could definitely make your offense instantly better, home run threat on any play. He's just so low because I don't think I have a real shot to land him.
Yeah, so I'm kind of going back and forth because there's still several players that I would love for us to be able to get. But I'm going to go, I've picked so many defensive linemen, but I had to do this. I'm going to go with Damian Shanklin because I didn't already pick him. Did I, P?
No, you didn't pick him.
Okay, all right. So I'm going Damian Shanklin on this one. I love his game. And I think Tennessee's actually in a pretty good spot with him. We've kind of heard that leading up to this visit. Would not be surprised if maybe we end up being his leader after this one. But yeah, I mean, you can really never have too many edge guys. And he's a guy that I think could either play at Leo or strong side DN, but he is a true edge guy. Probably not going to be bumped inside at defensive tackle, as opposed to some of the other players that I kind of talked about before. So that's going to be it, P. Let us know y'all's thoughts down in the comments section as always. And thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.